Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And welcome to another remote episode, but more importantly, welcome to the first of our many Halloween episodes, our many spoopy episodes.
Yes.
We're
Get
bringing
ready
the
for
spook.
get ready for 5 of these suckers.
Yeah, we're gonna bring you a lot of horror, a lot of analysis on the horror genre because it's one of our favorites. We don't get to talk about it enough, so that's why we're gonna really fucking lean into Halloween here this year, especially because we got so many weeks in October for some reason. This week we're doing something a little different for our podcast. Usually we get deep on movies, we analyze, we talk about the process of making movies.
The
That's not what's happening
minutia.
today. That's not what's happening today. That's not at all. We're talking about nerdy shit here. We're basically taking Death Battle. If you love that show, and we're doing it our own because we're gonna see who actually wins in a fight. We're gonna talk, but first we're gonna bring up slasher villains. And we have 18 of them, and they're all gonna fight each other to the fucking death. And we're calling it Slashers to the Death Tournament 2020. And we got plenty of great villains to fight each other in interesting bracket breakdowns. I think you'll be surprised about all these change-ups. We actually didn't even set these. We put in the characters, and then I just hit challenges like randomize, and this is what happened.
That's usually the best way to do it anyway.
Yeah, I didn't want to like immediately have Freddy fighting Jason, type of thing. But first, this is a big tournament. We actually have to have play-ins to the real matches here. We have 18 people, but we have 2 matches first, which are going to find out if they actually move into the real tournament. And because we do that because these ones are kind of hard to fit. These first 2 are kind of hard to fit into slasher genre because they're kind of the most B movie of all of our B movie villains here.
Yeah.
We're going to start it off with Pumpkinhead versus Leprechaun. This is a play-in match to actually fight some real people, but the person who wins this gets to fight Jason. Now remember, we're going to talk, Deshaun and me will talk about which movie's best first, of course, and then we'll actually talk who's gonna kill each other in a fight, and mostly a caged fight, like think WWE closed down cage fight to the death, like type of thing where they've been brought out to fight, and this is how it's gonna go. So Pumpkinhead versus Leprechaun. First off, movie wise, I'm surprised how many Leprechaun movies I've seen.
You've seen oh man, how many are there now? I think like 5 or 6.
There's 5 or 6.
Yeah. He goes to space, he goes to the hood, he goes to the hood again.
And I find that Leprechaun's movies are more fun to watch, more to chew on than Pumpkinhead. I think Pumpkinhead's good. It's got some good actors in it, and it's got a spooky, almost original character.
I appreciate like the creature design and the animatronics and whatnot for Pumpkinhead.
But if you had to like talk about a movie I had more fun and actually would watch again, maybe I would say Leprechaun takes the cake on.
Leprechaun doesn't really take itself all that seriously, even as far back as the original film. He's really just like cracking jokes, not unlike like Freddy Krueger and stuff. And they make the makeup that they put on him is like slightly creepy, but it's nothing that's gonna haunt your dreams.
Exactly.
To make him look a little more sinister than usual.
Yeah,
good old Warwick Davis.
For movie wise, I think Leprechaun takes it. But who wins in an actual brawl? Who wins in a fight? I think I have to give it to Leprechaun here because he snaps his fingers and shit happens.
Yeah, he's just got magic. I mean, taking out like the conveniences of the plot of each movie for him to be defeated somehow, Pumpkinhead at the end of the day is just kind of an animal.
Yeah.
Like he's summoned as like this beast, this like ancient beast to exact vengeance on teenagers. But it's really just like a big bestial creature.
Yeah, and most of in the first film and the other films, it's most of the time fire that takes down Pumpkinhead. So
Hmm.
and we've seen Leprechaun use fire to kill people before. So it's one of those things that it's very much in his arsenal to use, and he would just snap and make it happen. Now, Leprechaun does have limits to his abilities with the magic, but it's obvious that it's wicked OP. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Whereas, like, even as far back as the first Pumpkinhead films, just Lance Henriksen shows up with a flamethrower, and that's pretty much all she wrote.
Exactly. So that means that Leprechaun is going to move forward and play Jason in our actual start of the tournament. But for the other play-in match here, we have an interesting pair-up. We have the Firefly family from House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and was it Hell's 3? What is it
Three
called?
from Hell.
3 from Hell. And then we have Sam from Trick or Treat. Now, because this is a visual show, because we're actually on camera, watch us on YouTube. But again, you can listen to, but you'll miss this. I have my mini Pop Funkos of all these slasher villains right here, and I have little Sam right here.
I surprisingly don't have much in the way of horror pops because I'm just kind of waiting for them to update the sculpts.
Oh,
the most I have is like some of the Chucky ones, but I do have some of the Blu-rays sitting around. I surprisingly don't own Trick or Treat yet.
Really?
I might fix that as soon as I might fix that after this.
Yeah, look, the episode's inspiring more buys.
Yeah.
But I love Sam. I think Sam's great, and I think Trick or Treat's great. I think it's cool to have an anthology that's connected.
It's the most Halloween movie you could ever watch.
Yeah,
like, even though it doesn't have like the namesake like a certain other franchise, it just feels like Halloween. The entire point is about the holiday and the mythology surrounding it and celebrating it and accepting it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I do love Trick or Treat, but if I'm gonna have to pick a movie that's more effective at eliciting emotions from me, I'm gonna have to pick that The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses are better movies. I have more fun watching Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
But I think more effective movies are Devil's Rejects. And,
I could see that. I definitely prefer Trick or Treat. I like Rob Zombie's movies, but they can get kind of grating and tiring about like halfway through the runtime of each of them, even for the ones I really like. Like, I really like his remake of Halloween, but it's just one of those things you're like, there's always so much of just like terrible people I can take.
Exactly. But if we're talking who would win in an actual fight, if they came down to it, I think there's no question here. Sam wins. He's kind of an endless Halloween curse, and the Firefly family are just people.
Yeah, just people.
Just people.
Dangerous people. Scary people, but just people.
Just people. So I think that this is an easy one. This is almost a no-brainer. Sam moves forward. Sorry, Firefly family. Good movie, but can't win in a fight. Next up, we actually have the real tournament. Welcome, people. Welcome to the Shakedown. We're done with the play-ins. These are the real slashes, baby. These are the motherfucking killers. These guys bring the heat. And we're starting off with our number 1 seed bad boy, Jason, versus our last winner of the last round, Leprechaun. Now, obviously, for me, the Friday the 13th movies are obviously better than the Leprechaun movies. No question. No question. If you know this show, that wasn't a question. You wouldn't.
As ridiculous as they are, and, you know, kind of comes with the territory, especially when you're talking the slasher subgenre specifically, I don't like the Leprechaun movies enough to own.
Yeah, I would never buy the Leprechaun movies.
Yeah, as opposed to Friday the 13th, which I'm currently waiting from my collection set from Shout Factory to show up.
Ooh, you got the big boy. Big
boy.
Yeah. I have up to chapter 8 on Blu-ray. It all comes in one little thing.
Yeah, those are all the Paramount movies.
And I wish I had more. I wish it all came together like you're about to get.
That's part of the reason why that thing sold out so fast. I think it's actually back in stock now.
Oh, that's
but
good.
Just the idea that they played nice for the collection to be like, Paramount, New Line, get along, put all these movies here. Then it went out of print. Then there was the lawsuit, which I imagine affected that as well, to be able to print more. So then you got stuck with the one that you have, where it's only the Paramount movies and it doesn't have the New Line ones.
Yeah.
So with Shout Factory, they're just like, oh, here's all of them in one place, including the remake and Freddy versus Jason and a bunch of new features and brand new restorations. Are like, yeah, I fucking love Shout Factory.
Yeah,
We're not sponsored, but I would totally take it.
Oh my god, please Shout Factory sponsor us. I fucking love you guys. Next, so who wins then? Jason versus Leprechaun. I think right off the bat, I think Jason's unkillable. I think that's the number one thing.
He's a tank. No matter what Leprechaun could feasibly throw at him, unlike what he would do to Pumpkinhead, it wouldn't really slow Jason down.
No, you could set him on fire. You could chop him apart. He gets back up, baby, and he comes back and he fucking kills you. I don't think there's anything Leprechaun could do that would just stop the slow of Jason.
It would become a war of attrition that he wouldn't win at.
Yeah, exactly. It just wouldn't finish. It just wouldn't happen. So I think Jason is the king of the movie here and the king of this fight. I think there's no question. Now, next up, we got an interesting fight here. We got Candyman from It Said movie, Candyman, and Ghostface from the Scream series. Now, best movie-wise, I know you have a soft spot for the Scream movies. I know you love them all.
I like the first two.
I must say, though, I think Candyman freaks me out and is a really interesting movie. You know, I think I would
definitely say Candyman is the better movie.
Yeah, it's like like Scream and I like the twist, but
the thing that appealed to me about Scream was that it was a horror movie for horror movie fans. Yeah, it was about horror movies. It was super meta and self-aware, something that Wes Craven had played with. Rest in peace, Wes Craven.
Rest in peace.
Who would he had played with the idea a little bit with New Nightmare, but then he really went full on with Scream, and it shows. My problem though is that after the first two movies, they were really clever about taking horror tropes, acknowledging them, knowing how to subvert them and avoid them, and then 2 did that for how sequels go.
Yeah.
But then the problem is 3 and 4, they started to become so ridiculous that they started to become exactly what they were making fun of to begin with.
Yeah, and that's just terrible. So I think Candyman takes it on the movie here, but who wins in a fight? Now this one's a tough one. Because I think Candyman's kind of an unkillable curse here.
I think with this one, I would actually give it to Ghostface just because, given the rules of the Scream movies, where horror movies exist in this universe, so people know what the tropes and the cliches are. Yeah. Candyman is likely a movie that exists in the Scream universe already.
Totally.
And Ghostface would probably know the rules and probably know enough to be like, what's the one thing Candyman can't avoid?
Yeah.
Just if you just don't acknowledge that he exists, especially by saying his name 3 times, then there is no fight whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Candyman, is he doesn't materialize unless that happens. And then if he is materialized, I think it's more of a Leatherface. Candyman sneaks up on them and gets them, and
it's also a case of he's able to in the first movie he hypnotizes Helen to do his bidding, and then she takes the blame for it, but all of the kills he gets he tends to because he gets the jump on people.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think Ghostface, with his fourth wall breaking knowledge, might have his chance on Candyman here. So I'll give it to him. If you're with Ghostface, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I would say Ghostface.
Ghostface wins this one and is moving on to our round 3, where he'll be facing Jason. But before that, we have the rest of our tournament. Next up on our list is an interesting fight. We got Jigsaw versus the Xenomorph. I don't know. It's one of those Batman situations where you're like, if Jigsaw had a lot of time, he could probably trap a Xenomorph, probably,
yeah.
maybe.
Potentially.
But if you just put Jigsaw in a room with Xenomorph, or in a building with Xenomorph, he's dead.
Yeah, John Kramer's just the dude.
Just a
as
dude.
far as as far as like comparing movies are concerned, I would say Alien has it as well, not even
Yeah.
just in the fight department. I love the original Alien and Aliens,
They're
and
both
that's it.
masterpieces. Yeah, it's like as much as I like the Saw movies, especially the first one. I think you have to give it to Alien and Aliens. They're
Yeah.
classics. They're classics, so they have to take
And
the win
like
here.
its highest highs outmatch
Yeah,
both if you want to go tit for tat. Even coming from someone who, while I don't like the Alien movies past the second one, and I do like all of the Saw movies, like from beginning to end and how convoluted they fucking get.
yeah, really
Um,
convoluted.
it is one of those things where the lowest lows, ugh,
Yeah,
like the highest highs for Alien, make up for how bad that series eventually did get.
exactly. And so moving on, Zeno will face off against the winner of this next fight, Leatherface versus Norman Bates. Two serial killers, two just men facing each other, enter a ring. I don't think the string bean of Norman Bates is fucking winning this fight, bro.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we're really
Norman
talking
Bates.
like kitchen knife versus chainsaw, and just kind of like a shy like spindly dude versus like a tall giant like hick.
But if we're talking movies, I think Texas Chainsaw is an effective movie.
Yeah,
Both first one, second one, and the remake are effective.
and
But
it works that the pairing is these two against each other because they're both of their movies are effectively precursors to the genre in general.
yeah,
Because Texas Chainsaw Massacre even predates Halloween.
yeah, I agree. I think that both these movies, you could feel their effect on the whole entire horror genre even now.
Mhm.
But that's why I think movie wise you have to give it to Psycho, because influence wise there's not many movies that have this type of influence. Psycho is a classic, and it even holds up nowadays.
Yeah, even in a
I think,
bubble, like regardless of like which one had the bigger impact, I just find that Psycho is a better movie in
yeah,
general. Though
exactly.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is already it speaks for itself, and hell, it was the influence for Rob Zombie's entire film career.
Exactly, and I think you can feel that a little bit. I think you can really feel that. So I think you have to, with the chainsaw to the face to Norman Bates, move on Leatherface to face off against Xenomorph in our round 3. But before that, we have one of our play-in matches versus we have Sam versus Freddy Krueger. So Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street and Sam from Trick or Treat. This one's a tough one fight wise, but movie wise, as much as I love Nightmare on Elm Street, and I love a lot of them, I really do. I think Trick or Treat's better.
I
It's a
think
better
Trick or
movie.
I
I
think Trick
think
or Treat is on at least on par
par.
with the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's definitely better than all of the sequels, even some of the better ones like Elm Street 3 or New Nightmare.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right on the money there. I think that Trick or Treat can stand with the big boys, and that's why it's such an impressive horror movie. It's sort of modern, and it still is able to hang with the horror classics, baby.
Michael Dougherty could make a sequel to that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll take that, please.
I'll tell you what, he's
Um,
starting to become like a new director to watch between Trick or Treat, Krampus, and King of the Monsters.
right?
Tell you what,
Um,
he loved creatures.
I love it. I love it. I want more from him. But who wins in a fight here? Freddy or Sam? Both are kind of endless killable curses slash
Yeah.
beings.
The instinct is to say the moment you get Freddy out into the real world, then he's mostly ineffective. If you're going by the early movies, if you're going by Freddy versus Jason logic, he's actually pretty effective outside of the dream world, and it's also working on the assumption that Sam could get him out of the dream world anyway.
Exactly. So that's my main argument here, is that Sam's good, but could he get Freddy out of his endlessly powerful nightmare world? You know,
Mhm.
like the thing about Sam is is that sure, it's like it is about Halloween, and that is the fun of being scared. So like I feel like Freddy could find something that Sam could be afraid of, you know? Like I don't know if it's apparent, but he could find something and exploit it in the nightmare world. Like I just think that Freddy wins this by his endless power in the nightmare world, and then Freddy versus Jason logic, if he's pulled out, can still kind of hold his own.
Yeah, he surprisingly can kick some ass, even when he was pulled out in that.
So I think we have to give it to Freddy here. Sorry, Sam, that was a good run, but you not gonna make it up to round 3. And Freddy will face the winner of this next match here. We have the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers and Pennywise from It. Movie wise, I think It Chapter 1 is a horror classic already. Yeah. Like I think it's an effective movie. Chapter 2, we just won't look at. We just won't talk about it because it's not as effective. But Chapter 1 is great, and the original TV movie scared generations. So you got to give
the
respect there.
Series, if it doesn't hold up, still has a level of iconography that
is undeniable.
Yeah, competition doesn't in this case.
But the Creeper definitely scared me as a kid. I definitely thought it was a very scary movie, but I think It Chapter 1, I've seen it 4 or 5 times now, and I don't ever remember rewatching any of the Jeepers Creepers movies. So I think movie-wise, Pennywise wins this, but in a fight, I don't know if Pennywise wins.
Yeah, the thing about Pennywise, and it's interesting that we had these matched up together because these were randomized because they both had that gimmick of like they go dormant and they sleep for decades at a time and then wake up. Yeah, so that's an interesting parallel. But the thing about Pennywise is that he's only as powerful as much as you are afraid of him, which is why he tends to prey on children. And the only reason the Losers Club even deal with him in those sections of the book or Chapter 2 movie-wise is because they have that history with them before. But if we're talking pure fear, I doubt the Creeper would be afraid of him.
No, it's like the Creeper might not be super powerful per se. Like he gets a lot of stabs in, he pulls out eyeballs, but he's able to like creep into things and take people out. And he's not exactly going to be afraid of Pennywise. So I don't know how much power Pennywise would have even if he turned into giant crab form. I don't know if he could take on
if the kids could overcome their fear to be able to like take him down at the end of the first movie, then I'm sure the Creeper could do something similar. And even then, he's a lot more deadly than a couple kids with some pipes are.
Exactly. So I gotta give it to Creeper there. Creeper's moving forward on to fighting Freddy in our round 3. But before that, we have 2 more matches before round 3. This one's a fun one. Michael Myers versus the Predator. This is movie-wise. As much as I love Predator, it is such a fun movie. It's I think you've said it before. It's a testosterone ride. It is just like
this stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me.
It's just full of like dudes being dudes and big motherfucking muscles.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You hurt, you bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
I do love this movie, but if I have to talk about like a movie that influenced me in what I do and scared the living shit out of me as a kid, it's Halloween. Halloween by Rob Zombie and the original Halloween I watched pretty much back to back when I was 13, and they scared the living shit out of me, and I loved it. And I made so many little short films that were very similar in nature to Rob Zombie's one, and I felt the influence from this, and I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I remember watching the original Halloween on VHS at night when no one was home and all the lights were off.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the last time like a horror movie like truly like scared the shit out of me.
Scared the shit out of you. And that's I think as much as I love Predator, I think that Michael Myers Halloween movies, even though they go real low, they go real low. I think the highs of this series obviously beat out the one good Predator movie.
Yeah. Predator 2 is Predators is fun but too derivative.
I haven't seen the newest Predators movies because I've heard so many bad things
Yeah.
because there's
I haven't
what
watched
is
The Predator.
there's the Predator and Predators that I have not
Yeah.
seen, and I feel bad because it's one of my favorite like sci-fi characters, but it's also kind of like, you know, like I
Yeah.
don't want to watch him be torn through the mud.
Between what I've heard of The Predator and how much I don't like Iron Man 3, I think Shane Black just doesn't have it as far as like established blockbusters are
Yeah,
concerned.
he needs an
Because
original.
he did the Nice Guys in between Iron Man 3 and The Predator, and The Nice Guys was great.
Yeah, but I think if you give him original material, he kind of gets to do it. But who wins in a fight here? This is two guys who hunt down and kill people for sport. You know, basically, like basically their specialty is finding groups of people and taking them apart one by one, and they're the best at it.
Predator definitely has the arsenal, but Michael Myers has that same parallel to Jason in that he's really like this force of nature, this
You can't fucking
ethereal
kill him.
thing that cannot be killed.
I feel like
Especially,
you would hit him a bunch and he just wouldn't stay down. You
yeah,
know, like
especially if you're going by established lore and you get further on in the sequels and you get weird culty shit.
I also think that if Arnold Schwarzenegger can take him down with a bit of mud, Mike Myers can just figure out where the fuck he is and kill him. You know, like that's if we're talking about like sure Predator could see him through a wall, but I feel like Mike Myers would figure that out pretty fast. Like he's a smart guy. Like that's the one thing that they don't really talk about often. Is
And
that
sure,
Mike
Predator
Myers is
has
smart as fuck.
And sure, Predator has like the bomb, but at that point, he'll only be doing that because he lost.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a win. That's not a win. So I think we have to give it to Michael Myers here. I think he's got to move forward. Just because I think that he could first off take down Arnold Schwarzenegger and then could take down the Predator. But moving on to our last match of round 2, we have Chucky versus Pinhead. Now, movie-wise, Chucky scares the shit out of me. Scares the shit out of me. I guess I'll try to explain it. When I was a kid, my stepdad used to do, you know, nighttime stories, and he would tell stories in Chucky's voice, and then he would get underneath the bed and, like, reach up and grab you with, like, Chucky's voice, be like, Chucky's gotcha, and, you know, like, rip you off the bed. And as much as it was fun, it, like, viscerally made me scared of Chucky for fucking ever, you know? Like, and I can't watch Child's Play as much as it's a great movie. It scares the living shit out of me.
I love the Child's Play franchise. I would argue that Chucky might be my favorite like slasher character, like right up there with Jason as far as I like it enough that he can carry his shittier movies.
Yeah.
Like I like it enough to like own it all.
Yeah, I agree. Wow, he's got it all. Look at that. But Pinhead here, I later in life saw the Hellraiser movies, but I do believe they are very effective horror movies. But are they as horrifying and fucked up as Chucky? No.
Yeah, Hellraiser was a late one for me as well. I had seen it in college. I saw it and Candyman at like a double feature for Halloween like years ago. And I used to watch horror movies with my mom, so when I had finished watching them both, I was just like, how did we miss this?
How'd this happen? How'd
we miss these ones? These are great.
I definitely think Chucky wins for the movie fight, but I don't know how much Chucky could do to a fucking demon from hell like Pinhead, you know? Like the only thing he could do is solve the fucking puzzle, you know? Like that's maybe it.
Chucky
Otherwise,
the scares for Chucky are very specific. It's because that's why they pretty much put a child's point of view for the first couple of movies, is that it's supposed to be scary on that perspective, where like the idea that a doll that you own is out to get you. And the fact that no one believes you because of it. That's why it's scary. It's not something as simple. At least it is in this particular case because we're talking about like head to head.
Yeah.
But like the easy criticism of the Child's Play movies are like, all you have to do is kick them and movies over.
You gotta kick him. Which is bullshit because he's obviously would bite your ankles off or slit your ankles or something. But they definitely nerf him in the remake, but that's because they just, instead of making him like a possessed doll, they just make him a fucked up AI.
Yeah.
who's violent, which I don't know if it's too much of a nerf because he still gets all these AI powers. It's like he gets a bunch of powers that way, but still, I don't think he can. There's no way he could win against Hellraiser here. I don't think there's any chance. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
All right.
Pinhead could just like snap his fingers and he'd be torn apart.
Exactly. So I'll send that Pinhead forward and he'll face Michael Myers in our round 3. But before we do that, we have to fight at the very top here. We're starting our round 3. And first up on our list is quite the fight, Jason versus Ghostface. Now, I think the argument we gave for Ghostface winning against Candyman doesn't really work here against Jason, because knowing how to kill Jason doesn't really do much against Jason.
Candyman was very specific because Ghostface could find a way for a fight not even to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas with Jason, you don't really have that option, and even knowing the movies ahead of time wouldn't give you the tools necessary to be able to take him down.
No, I don't think he's, I don't think they'll get this. Movie wise, I prefer the Friday the 13th over the Scream movies any day. I'll rewatch a shitty Friday the 13th before I watch any of the Scream movies again. Nothing against the Scream movies, but I just love the Friday the 13th movies. But I think Jason here is an unkillable force. And there's nothing that, literally, that's the problem with Ghostface, is he's just a dude. I don't think he could do anything against Jason. Even if he knew how to kill him. There's nothing he can do.
Yeah, there's nothing he could really find his way around. Anytime Jason is killed, especially since we're talking about any more powerful versions of Jason.
Yeah.
Even pre-zombie Jason, he's, tough to take down. And there's no way, a Jason post like Jason Lives would be able to be brought down by just a dude in a cheap costume and a butcher's knife.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that means that Jason moves forward and he's in our semifinals. Who he will face, the winner of this next match, which is a kind of easy fight here. This is Xenomorph versus Leatherface. As much as I love Leatherface here, I don't think he would hold any candle to a Xenomorph running up and just biting his face off. No. There's nothing you can do, even with a chainsaw, there's nothing you can do.
At the most, he might be able to get, a hit in, but then he'd have
bleed on him.
Then he'd bleed on him.
I think this was an easy one, and it's an easy one movie-wise. I think the Alien movies are just fantastic. I think that they beat all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
For the movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, the only ones that I tend to like are I like the original film, and I like the remake.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That's I feel that
kind of similar to. It sort of is and sort of isn't similar to Halloween in that respect because I love the original. 2 isn't very good, but I can still enjoy it, and I really like 3, but it's a completely different thing. And then I like the remake and the latest sequel. Basically, the best movies in the Halloween franchise all have the name Halloween and nothing else.
Nothing else. Oh my goodness. So, we're not down to Myers yet, but we're gonna move Xenomorph forward. He's gonna face Jason in the semifinals. But now we have moving on to our other 2. We have Freddy versus the Creeper. Movie-wise, I think that I enjoy A Nightmare on Elm Street more than I do any of the Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, yeah.
As you can tell, I'm not a big Jeepers Creepers fan, even though it did scare me as a kid. I think it's teenage horror, and it isn't as effective as it thinks it is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's so many great moments from Nightmare on Elm Street that takes the cake here. But in a fight, there's not much that Freddy could do to the Creeper.
Yeah, the thing with the Creeper is that the character is so ambiguous. We still don't know what he is or where he comes from. Yeah. So it's when you don't have any characterization other than broad strokes when it comes to something like that, it's tough to say that Freddy could affect him via his dreams or a subconscious because we don't really know if the Creeper has anything to fear in that respect.
Exactly. And sure, it would be hard for the Creeper to get Freddy out of the nightmare, but in reality, what would Freddy do to the Creeper in the nightmare? It's just not. it's just nothing, you know?
Yeah, and then even if it's Freddy going toe to toe with him in the real world, then the Creeper has it because he's kind of an overpowered monster.
Yeah. So I'll let's push forward the Creeper. Moving on, and he'll fight the winner of this next match, which is quite the match here. We have Michael Myers versus Pinhead. Now, I love Michael Myers. He's an unkillable force, but can he take down a guy who can open gates to hell and rip them apart?
Likely not. I think the thing with Michael is that even if he's unkillable, maybe to a slightly less degree than someone like Jason is, the
Yeah.
thing about Pinhead is that he could just send Michael elsewhere or just like
Yeah.
immobilize him completely.
Go nowhere. It's one of those things that I love Michael, but I don't think he could face the Pinhead here. I think the Xenomorph, what are they called in Pinhead? I'm calling them Pinhead. But
Oh, the Cenobites.
Xenobites. They're kind of overpowered. They have a lot of strength here, and I think
Yeah,
they take down Michael Myers.
the thing about the way the Cenobites are presented, especially in the first two movies, is that you don't really have anything to fight them with. The only reason
No,
they're able to get out of that situation is because they either trick the Cenobites or they barter for something else so they don't get taken.
exactly.
And that's the only way you can play on that level with them.
And so I don't think Michael can take him here. I think in a straight up brawl, Pinhead wins. I think Pinhead might win a lot here. I think he's one of the more overpowered ones, along with the Xenomorph. But that's just my prediction. But we're moving on. Pinhead will move forward to face the Creeper in the semifinals. But we're gonna do our first match of the semifinals first. We have Jason versus the Xenomorph. This one's a tough one. This one's a toughie. I feel like this is what this bracket's been all about, is getting to these toughies right here.
Because we're going like on a sci-fi fight and we assume the battle's on a spaceship somewhere, because how else would you get to the alien, then we got to bring up Uber Jason.
Yeah, and
and if we're going in terms of Uber Jason at his like peak, which is pretty much peak Jason versus a Xenomorph, I still say Jason has this one.
I think
Even if you're
Jason's got it.
comparing, yeah, if you're comparing aesthetic and sheer firepower, the weapons shown in like Alien and Aliens are pretty comparable to what you see in Jason X. Like they're very similar kinds of guns, and they do nothing to Uber Jason.
Yeah, and I think that's what's here, is that Jason can kind of come back from anything. He gets sent to hell and he's able to still come back and reform. And I think that you can actually kill a lot of Xenomorphs. That shows off in Aliens. Alien, it feels like it's unkillable, unstoppable. Even if you kill it, it's going to bleed on you. You're going to die. But in Aliens, you can tear them apart with a couple guns, or a flamethrower or something.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jason wins that fight then,
And that's and to be fair to the Alien movies, that is sort of a different case. With Alien, you basically had a bunch of space truckers. Whereas in Aliens, it was in the future and it was dealing with like actual Marines with like the firepower to really take them down.
Yeah, I feel that they're actually trained professionals who came in. That's there's a difference there. But I think that what gives Jason the advantage here. He's unkillable, and if it's one Xenomorph, he's getting the kill.
Yeah, he would eat the same firepower that would take down one Xenomorph.
Exactly. So I think that this is a no question. Jason moves forward on to our finals, but who will he fight? Will he fight the Creeper or Pinhead? Now, tough one here, because we're both dealing with sort of demons? Question mark?
Yeah, in a way.
In a way, I don't know what the fuck the Creeper is, but it's sort of a demon. This is a tough one. But I think if you're going with sheer brutality and force, you gotta go with Pinhead here.
Even if, like at the end of Jeepers Creepers 2, even if he wasn't directly killed, he was more like damaged enough that he had to go dormant again. He was still taken down by like a man-made harpoon.
Yeah,
compare that to Pinhead snapping his fingers and like chains, hooks, you're torn apart, and we're done. We're out of here.
Yeah, as as powerful as Creeper is, I don't know if he could outlive this fight. Even if he's torn apart and comes back 23 later, Pinhead would still be there, willing to whip you apart.
And unlike someone like Freddy or Candyman, Pinhead doesn't need like a subconscious advantage to be able to take someone down.
Exactly. It's not like, exactly. It's deep down, he's a demon. Like there's no like, oh shit, like oh my goodness, he's just this thing.
They don't fear me. I can't get into their dreams.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, no, this is that's it. So I think we gotta, give it to the Pinhead here, no question. And that moves both of them on, Pinhead and Jason, onto our finals. This is it. This is it, boys. This is what the Slasher to the Death tournament has been all about. Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch. This is Jason versus Pinhead. It's a tough one. Because they're both kind of masters of hell.
Yeah, in a way.
A little bit. In a way, Jason can just be like, all right, let me break out of fucking hell real quick. Let me get torn apart and then come back still.
Yeah, even though Freddy's the one who becomes the catalyst to bring him back from hell in Freddy versus Jason, it seems like Jason could potentially do it of his own volition. He just seemed kind of dormant in the beginning of Freddy versus Jason.
Right.
Like he had been killed, but Camp Crystal Lake has also been, it looked like in Freddy versus Jason, it had been abandoned for like good this time and no one tried to like reopen it.
Yeah. But I mean, Pinhead again just tears you apart,
Yeah. Because he can just he can send you elsewhere. He can bring you to another dimension. And it's a case of what he could do, as we mentioned before, is that even if he can't take down Jason specifically, like kill him for good, he can immobilize him so the fight is over.
And has anybody even tried to hurt Pinhead? I think that's like, I don't know if anybody's even like got a shot off on Pinhead.
As far as the first two movies are concerned, no, I don't remember anything from the third movie either.
Yeah.
Because again, Pinhead, at least in the early movies, was never really the main antagonist in those. Yeah. Like, he was a force of nature that was, like, the bigger thing to worry about if they failed.
But he was never the villain, It was it was some dude being an asshole or something like that. But I think that's why you got to give it to Pinhead here, is that he could continue the fight and take him down pretty much every time. I don't know if Jason can get close enough to hit him, like that's my real issue here, is that Jason could probably outlive everything he does, but could he get close enough to actually hit Pinhead? Probably not,
because if we're just going by like the BDSM chains, and hooks, then I think, okay, so Jason's in chains. He's been in chains before, and it's like kept him still,
right? You're just like,
because you have like Jason Lives, the end of Jason Lives, he's like chained to a rock. So he's stuck at the bottom of Crystal Lake for a while. So that's a thing. And then in the beginning of Jason X, he's been immobilized and like chained up and in a straitjacket and stuff like that for years. And they've kept him under surveillance. Yeah. So immobilize him, and that's pretty much the end of that.
That's the end of that. I
Pinhead
think Pinhead takes it. I think he takes the whole tournament, guys.
But Pinhead's the only one who could actually do it on his own.
Yeah, I think so. Here, let me show you guys the bracket real quick. Let me try this. Bam! That's nice. We got the bracket up on screen for you guys so you can see it. This is the whole breakdown. I hope you enjoyed this little tournament thing. And I hope you agree with us, or if you don't, please, we got a Discord, we got a Facebook, we got Twitter. I'm Yupfrank on Twitter.
I'm Mod Karaika.
And we have so many other ways to talk to us. Please join our Discord and have healthy discussions. We actually got a chat called Fight Club, where you could put something like this right there and just tell us to fight about it. Like this is however you guys want to talk to us about it, we want to talk about it too.
Yeah. Especially if you've watched more than us, or like pay attention to little details. You never know with horror franchises. You could bring up some piece of lore that we missed that like would have given one of these characters a win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this is like, we might have the knowledge on this, but maybe not. So I want to hear from you guys if you have anything that you guys want to talk, you think that we didn't missed on. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for watching these episodes, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.